Richard's cologne hit me first, that obnoxious vanilla and bourbon stench he's been bathing in since his midlife crisis. I should have known something was wrong when he didn't lead with his usual rant about quarterly losses. Instead, he leaned back in his ergonomic throne, fingers steepled like a low-budget Bond villain, and said, "Doug, you ever wonder why Isabella stopped wearing her wedding ring?" The security footage on his monitor was grainy, but unmistakable. There she was, my wife of 12 years, that cashmere scarf I'd never seen before draped over her hair like some bad espionage movie disguise, stepping into the Marriott elevator with a guy in a baseball cap. The timestamp, 8:47 p.m., last Thursday. The same night, she'd texted me a selfie at her charity gala, champagne flute in hand. Caption, "Wish you were here," instead of burning the midnight oil again. Richard paused the video just as the man's hand grazed the small of her back. "You've been working so hard," he purred, rotating his Montblanc pen like a knife. "Neglect has consequences." My coffee curdled in my gut. For half a second, I was 16 again, watching my old man collapse when Mom served him divorce papers at my sister's baptism. Then the details snapped into focus. The chipped gold polish on Isabella's thumbnail. She'd redone them that morning. The way she always taps the elevator button twice. A quirk from her claustrophobia. And that fucking scarf. "Isabella hates wool." "You're right," I said, voice steadier than my hands. I should have noticed. I leaned toward the screen, memorizing the time code burning into the lower left corner. "Funny though, isn't the Marriott's lobby carpet blue?" His eyebrow twitched. "What? The gala was at the Marriott." But in her photos, I pulled up Isabella's Instagram, zooming in on her sequin dress reflected in the hotel's Art Deco floor mirrors. "Looks burgundy to me." Richard's smile didn't slip. "Maybe she changed venues. Maybe you're full of shit." I stood, chair screeching. The room smelled suddenly of scorched metal and the licorice gum he chews to hide his whiskey breath. "Where's that trademark loyalty?" He clicked to another angle. Isabella laughing now, the man's face still angled away. "Defending a company that's sinking faster than your marriage." Something glinted in the paused footage. Isabella's left hand, blurred but visible. Her wedding band flashed, but that's not what froze me. The man's watch. Custom green alligator strap. Richard's 25th anniversary gift to himself last year. "You'd know all about sinking," I said, palming the USB drive he'd left plugged into his desktop. "How's Eleanor's wellness retreat in Barbados going?" "Heard the divorce lawyers, their work miracles." The hallway swayed as I marched past Clara from HR, Richard's newly promoted protege, her perfume clashing with the bile in my throat. By the fire exit, I finally checked the USB. Not surveillance footage. A single spreadsheet titled Termination Packages, dated tomorrow. My name highlighted in red. Isabella's text chimed as I reached the parking lot. "Leftover lamb in the fridge. Home by 9. The dashboard clock read 8:16 p.m. I sat gripping the wheel until the leather creaked. Then I drove not home, but to the Marriott. The night manager recognized me from the Rotary Club. "Your wife's auction committee?" He frowned. "They canceled last month. Moved to the Hilton." The scarf in Richard's video wasn't wool. It was silk. Exactly like the one Clara wore at last quarter's HR seminar. The lamb was cold when I got home. Isabella's heels clicked against the tiles before I even shut the door, her voice sharp as shattered crystal. "Where were you?" I called 6. I threw my keys into the bowl she'd brought back from Santa Fe last anniversary. The clatter drowned out the lie I'd rehearsed. "Marriott's event coordinator called. They mentioned how helpful you were last Thursday." Her face drained to the color of our wedding china. "We've had 3 major fights in 12 years, when I forgot her mother's death anniversary, when she miscarried, and the night I told her about the bankruptcy. This wasn't a fight. This was demolition." "It's not what you think," she whispered, clutching the fridge handle like a lifeline. "Then tell me what it is." I held up my phone, zooming in on the security still. Richard had accidentally emailed me Isabella mid-laugh, the man's green-strapped wrist brushing her hip. "Who's the Rolex enthusiast?" Her knuckles whitened. "I can't or won't." The tremor in her hands betrayed her. "Isabella doesn't tremble." She'd once sliced her palm open prepping hors d'oeuvres for a fundraiser and stitched it herself with a sewing kit. "Doug, please. Is he threatening you?" I stepped closer, catching the scent of her jasmine perfume undercut with something acrid. "Fear sweat. Richard? Clara? One of your sister's loan shark buddies." She flinched at Clara's name. "This isn't about me." Midnight found me in the garage, elbow deep in her Peloton bag. The burner phone was tucked beneath her glucose monitor case. Slim, rose gold, the kind sold in gas station display racks. Passcode 0412. Our anniversary. The texts were wiped, but the SIM card still hummed with secrets. I cloned it using the reader I'd bought after the bankruptcy audit. My hands steady now. Cold. Surgical. Outgoing calls are 14. Last Thursday's call log told the Royale story. 7:02 p.m. Incoming from our 2 minutes. 7:15 p.m. Outgoing to our 8 minutes. 8:30 p.m. Outgoing to our voicemail. She tried reaching Art again at 8:30. After entering the hotel. After whatever happened in that elevator. The garage door creaked. Isabella stood silhouetted in her silk robe, face swollen from crying. "I found the Hilton receipt in your coat," she said quietly. "You think I'm cheating?" I pocketed the SIM, nodding toward her gym bag. "You think I'm stupid?" Her laugh cracked like thin ice. "You're the smartest man I know. That's the problem." She left me there with the damning evidence and the real trap. Nestled beside the burner phone was a parking stub from the Hilton garage, dated last Thursday, 6:58 p.m. The Marriott video was a fake, but the Hilton receipt was real. Or wasn't Richard? Or was the other man? The data recovery cost me a case of Lagavulin and an embarrassing story about that time I'd accidentally live-streamed my colonoscopy prep to the IT department. Marty's basement reeked of energy drinks and soldering iron smoke, 3 monitors casting a sickly glow on his collection of vintage Tamagotchis. "Your wife's either running an underground witness protection program," he said, sucking Red Bull through a Twizzler straw, "or she's the worst affair partner in history." The reconstructed text painted a bizarre mosaic. "Isabella, they found C's car. Need new location now. R. Hilton 873. 8 p.m. No phones. Isabella, she's panicking. Says they'll break her knees. R. Should have paid. Bring $15,000 or deal with consequences." Marty zoomed in on metadata. "This are guys using a military-grade encryption app that'd make the NSA blush. But your missus." He pulled up her message history. She's been Googling how to launder cash through charity auctions and best bulletproof sedans under $50K. I stared at the screen. Our joint account showed no unusual withdrawals. But the memo line of last month's Opera Gala donation check flashed in my mind. For C's Light, written in Isabella's looping script. C. Clara. Her half-sister's apartment complex stank of cat piss and broken dreams. I'd only been there once before, when Clara borrowed $8,000 from our emergency fund after her last rehab stint. The peephole was covered with a Yellow Pages coupon for bail bondsman. Jesus, Doug. Clara opened the door chain first, her HR blazer clashing with meth mouth source. "If you're here about the money." I shoved past her into the studio. The air tasted like stale vape juice and paranoia. "How much do they want for your knees?" She froze mid-cigarette light. Isabella promised she wouldn't. Promises are cheaper than bulletproof cars. I kicked aside a stack of Cosmopolitan magazines dated 2007, the year she dropped out of community college. A faint red light blinked above the microwave. Security cam. Who's holding the leash? Richard? His Ice Queen wife? Clara's laugh turned into a cough. "You think this is about work?" She yanked open the mini-fridge. Insulin vials rattled beside a half-eaten lean cuisine. "Your perfect wife's been playing Good Samaritan with my debts. 5 months ago, some very pissed-off Albanians showed up at my AA meeting." I glanced at the microwave clock, 3:17 p.m. The hidden camera's timestamp read 3:21. For minute discrepancy. So Isabella's laundering protection money through charity events. My shoe nudged something under the coffee table. A monogrammed Zippo, E.L. Eleanor's initials. "And you're repaying her by screwing me over at HR? I'm trying to survive." She hurled her cigarette at a pizza box shrine. "You think Richard promoted me for my Excel skills? He owns the loan company." The math clicked. Richard's offshore accounts. Eleanor's approved transfers. Isabella's sudden interest in cash-only fundraisers. Clara wasn't the victim, she was the middleman. My phone buzzed. Security alert. Motion detected in our home office. Isabella's panic code. As I turned to leave, sunlight glinted off the microwave camera's lens, but the reflection showed 2 feeds. One of Clara's apartment. Another, our living room couch. The burner phone burned in my pocket. Next time they come for your knees, I said, tossing Eleanor's lighter into her sink. Tell them to itemize the receipt. The Uber ride home took 7 minutes. Just enough time to remotely access the camera feed Clara had been streaming to. There she was, Isabella, tearing apart my filing cabinet, shaking as she photographed pages from the bankruptcy file I'd buried years ago. The file that proved I'd once borrowed $200,000 from a shell company called CL Holdings. CL. Clara's full name, Clara Louise Ellis. The shell company's registration date, 6 weeks before our wedding. My hands didn't shake as I screenshotted Isabella's betrayal. They'd stopped shaking the moment I realized the microwave camera's second feed wasn't just monitoring our house, it was mirrored to Richard's corporate server. Everyone was watching. Everyone was lying. And I'd just become the broadcast director. The leaked video hit my inbox at 2:37 a.m., CC'd to every director above pay grade G. Richard's subject line. Team building exercise. Recognizing workplace distractions. Would have been laughable if not for the screenshot of Isabella's blurred face plastered across our internal Slack. By dawn, 3 VPs had accidentally forwarded it to my team with variations of "Stay strong, buddy." I waited until the 3rd espresso to make my move. The board portal accepted my anonymous upload without protest. Richard's Cayman Islands transfers, Clara's inflated HR invoices, even the security cam metadata proving the Marriott footage was spliced. Let them choke on spreadsheets. Douglas. Richard cornered me by the copier, reeking of victory and Valium. Heard you're exploring alternative career paths? He flicked a paperclip at the cuckold meme someone had taped to my monitor. Don't worry, Eleanor's drafting your severance as we speak. The CFO's rejection email arrived during his gloat. All expenditures approved per Mrs. Eleanor Langston's discretion. Attached, a scanned memo with Eleanor's loopy signature greenlighting Richard's offshore innovation fund. Dated the week after our bankruptcy. Richard's wedding band glinted as he adjusted his tie. Same custom green strap as the watch in the video. Same designer as Eleanor's infamous snake-shaped bracelet she'd worn to last year's shareholder meeting. Click. Innovation Fund. I repeated, staring at the date. Funny. That's exactly when Clara bought her Mercedes. His smirk faltered for half a heartbeat. By lunch, I'd cross-referenced every CL Holdings transaction with Eleanor's charity donations. The pattern was elegant in its cruelty. Every dollar Richard siphoned, Eleanor laundered through her women's empowerment nonprofit. Every withdrawal matched an event where Isabella wore a new designer dress. The final piece fell into place at the Starbucks across from Clara's apartment. Through binoculars, I watched her peel Eleanor's snake bracelet from Azale's bag, its emerald eyes matching the ones in Isabella's auction photos. My burner rang. Unknown number. Stop digging. Eleanor's voice could frost hell. You'll find the $200,000 loan from CL Holdings was repaid last month. I sipped cold brew, watching Clara model the bracelet for her hidden camera. With interest. With silence. A file appeared on my cloud. Scanned checks from Isabella's personal account. $15,000 increments labeled charitable reimbursement. My husband's hobbies are tedious, but your wife's discretion has been lucrative. The math was flawless. The timing immaculate. The trap? Eleanor didn't know I'd planted my own memo in the board portal. A fabricated email from her account authorizing Richard's affairs as stress management. Let her explain that over martinis with the executive committee. As I stood, my reflection in the coffee shop window showed a man transformed. Tie askew, eyes sharp as broken glass, smiling like he'd finally read the last page of the murder mystery. Richard wanted me fired. Eleanor wanted me complicit. Isabella wanted me blind. But as the pawn shop surveillance feed on my phone showed Clara pawning Eleanor's bracelet, I realized the game's fatal flaw. Dragons hoard treasure. And I just learned to breathe fire. Isabella's confession came wrapped in bourbon and jasmine, her words slurring as she clutched the anniversary photo we'd taken at that shitty Sears portrait studio. Clara said they'd leaked the bankruptcy files, she hiccuped, mascara bleeding into the creases of her trembling smile. The ones with your signature. The ones that prove you commuted fraud to save our house. I finished, kicking aside the shattered remains of her emergency tequila bottle. The shards glittered like the diamond studs I'd pawned during the bankruptcy, studs she now wore daily. Let me guess. Richard promised to bury the files if you played courier. She nodded, drunk enough to be honest, sober enough to omit the knife twist. But I'd already found it, tucked between her yoga pants and the Glock 19 she'd apparently bought last month. A notarized affidavit dated 2 days after our wedding. My signature forged above Clara's witness line, notarized by Eleanor's discreet little law firm. They said you'd go to prison, Isabella whispered, reaching for my hand. I let her ice-cold fingers brush mine before pulling back. I couldn't. The video, it was supposed to be a warning. The video where you're wearing Clara's scarf? I tossed the silk monstrosity onto the bed, Hilton lint still clinging to its fibers. Funny story, Richard's been leasing a suite there every Thursday. Guess which floor? Her breath hitched. You don't understand it. Floor 8. Same as the loan shark meetings. I yanked open her nightstand, scattering Xanax and expired condoms until the keychain clattered free, a Hilton Honors card under the alias E. Langston. Eleanor's pet viper had been nesting in my marital bed. Isabella's drunken sobs crescendoed as I stormed out, but the real performance awaited in my garage toolbox. Beneath the socket wrenches lay the bankruptcy file I'd supposedly burned, charred edges artfully staged, its intact core revealing Richard's masterstroke. Page 17, third paragraph, a $200,000 transfer from CL Holdings to our joint account. Dated 3 days after our honeymoon. But the transaction ID, TRU8H4X0R, matched the offshore codes I'd found in Richard's server logs. The embezzlement wasn't just happening now. He'd been funding our marriage from the start. My laptop pinged with a security alert, Richard remotely wiping his office desktop. Too late. The screen recording software I'd hidden in the HVAC vent had already captured him doctoring the Marriott footage, Clara's laughter tinny through the vents as she suggested adding more ass shots of Isabella. But the clincher? The Photoshop file name, backup plan _infidelity _final _V12. Eleanor's icy voice slithered from my Bluetooth speaker, triggered by the motion sensor in Richard's desk drawer. Douglas's termination papers signed. Once the board sees the bankruptcy fraud, he'll either jump or... A gun cocking sound effect. Her dry chuckle. I synced the recording to every device in the executive wing, queued to play at tomorrow's operations review. Then I texted Clara's burner number from Isabella's phone. Emergency meet at Hilton 873. Bring cash. Let them taste their own medicine. The revenge would be digital. The fallout would be biblical. And the best part? Richard's own IT protocols would auto-approve the broadcast. The bug was smaller than a tic-tac, custom-made by Marty's hacker cousin, paid for in Bitcoin, and a promise to never ask about his neck tattoo. I slipped it into Richard's ergonomic keyboard during the fire drill, right beneath the F key he always smashed when ranting about millennials. 47 hours later, the audio feed crackled to life with Clara's nasal whine. Eleanor's cut was supposed to be 22%, not 30%. Richard's chair squeaked like a dying animal. You think I enjoy bankrolling her equestrian meth habit? That bitch spends more on horse tranquilizers than your entire department's budget. A drawer slammed. Paper rustled. Then, the wet schlick of a liquor bottle being uncorked. Aunt Eleanor said if we skim below 15%, the auditors wouldn't. Your aunt, Richard spat, is a glorified coupon clipper with a law degree. Remind me again why I married her. The revelation hit like a sucker punch. Clara's mother's maiden name, Langston, stamped on Isabella's rehab intake forms. The family portrait in Eleanor's office where a teen Clara lurked in the background, face already twisted into its permanent sneer. I leaned closer to the laptop, cold pizza forgotten, as Richard's confession unfurled. Shell companies dating back to his college days, dummy charities, even a $2 million life insurance policy on me with Clara as beneficiary. Then the feed died mid-sentence. Looking for this. The text came from Richard's number. Attached, a photo of my bug impaled on a letter opener beside Clara's smirk. My spine fused to the office chair. They'd found it. They'd traced it. They knew. But how? Rewinding the last minutes of audio, I maxed the volume until the static screamed. Beneath Richard's bluster, a faint beep every 7 seconds. Familiar. Mocking. The emergency exit alarm. I'd triggered it during the fire drill. Security footage would show me lingering by Richard's office. IT logs would reveal the Bluetooth pairing. My alibi, checking the departmental evacuation checklist, crumbled as I remembered Clara, coincidentally, scheduling the drill during my lunch break. They'd baited me. The office door burst open. Isabella stood clutching her gym bag, the one hiding her burner phone, her Glock, her second life. Richard's here. Headlights sliced through the blinds. His Porsche roared into the parking lot, Clara's pink Mercedes close behind. I smashed the laptop's SSD with a coffee mug, fingers shaking as I swiped the backup drive taped under my desk. Isabella gripped my wrist, her nails drawing blood. The garage. Now. We made it 3 steps before the elevator pinged. Richard's voice boomed through the stairwell, echoing off concrete walls. Doug, let's discuss your severance package. Isabella shoved me toward the freight elevator, its doors screeching like a tortured cat. As we descended, she ripped open her gym bag, not the Glock, but a manila envelope stuffed with offshore account printouts. Clara's been laundering through my charity. Her eyes glinted, feral. Eleanor taught her. The papers fluttered as the elevator shuddered. Transaction codes, shell company links, and tucked between pages, a faded photo of Clara and Eleanor at a horse ranch, dated 1998. Inscribed on back, "Happy 10th birthday, my little protege." The elevator doors opened to chaos. Richard's goons, 2 meatheads from the warehouse, lunged. Isabella kneed one in the groin while I smashed the other's nose with the SSD. We sprinted to her Prius, Richard's screams chasing us like rabid dogs. They'll freeze our accounts. I panted, fumbling with the backup drive. Isabella floored it through the security gate. Eleanor already did. Her phone buzzed with a wire transfer alert. Our joint savings drained to $0. But the real gut punch came from Marty, encrypted email logs. Richard had scheduled an HR emergency meeting tomorrow to terminate me for corporate espionage. Attached, a screenshot from the bug's last transmission. Not just audio. Video. The hidden cam in Richard's keyboard had captured it all, including me planting the device. Isabella's knuckles whitened on the wheel. We need leverage. I scrolled through the backup drive, desperation curdling into icy resolve. There, Eleanor's secret brokerage account. Her trades perfectly mirrored ours. Every stock I'd bought. Every crypto dip Isabella had sold. Our entire financial history, copied trade for trade. Clara's insulin vials. Richard's bourbon. My bankruptcy. All chess moves in Eleanor's decade-long game. The Prius swerved into our driveway. I grabbed Isabella's face, her breath hot with fear and spearmint gum. You knew? She didn't deny it. The garage motion light flickered on, illuminating the trunk of her car, packed with suitcases. How long? I whispered. Tires screeched down our street. Richard's Porsche, Clara's Mercedes. 2 unmarked vans. Isabella pressed her forehead to mine, long enough to plant cameras in every room. Our TV flickered to life. Live feeds from Clara's apartment, Richard's office, Eleanor's stables. You're not the only one who bugs things, she said, slamming the trunk. Now help me burn their empire. The doorbell rang. Richard's voice, honeyed with venom. Package delivery. Isabella kissed me hard, bitter, final. Your move, Doug. The emergency meeting alert hit our phones as Richard's thugs were jimmying our front door lock. Isabella didn't flinch, just tightened the tourniquet around her arm and injected herself with something from Clara's insulin case. Adrenaline, she said, tossing me the empty vial. Clara's diabetic. Richard's allergic to peanuts. Eleanor. Her smile turned feral. Eleanor hates being upstaged. I streamed the Marriott footage to the company server at 9:03 a.m. sharp. overriding the firewall with the admin credentials I'd lifted from Clara's Tinder profile, password, Daddy's Little 1%. The conference room screens lit up with Clara's terrible Isabella impersonation. Same cashmere scarf, same chipped nail polish, but tripping over heels 2 sizes too big. Richard's face on the split screen was poetry. "Terminate the feed," he barked, spitting bourbon-laced spittle on the webcam. "This is slanderous." "Wait." Eleanor's voice cut through the chaos like a scalpel. She entered frame wearing her signature snake bracelet, its emerald eyes catching the light as she leaned into Richard's mic. Let the man finish his presentation. The dread hit me like a ketamine dart. This wasn't in the script. I cued the smoking gun, Clara's Photoshop files, Richard's offshore transfers, even the audio of him bitching about Eleanor's equestrian meth habit. But the upload failed. Eleanor's smile didn't reach her eyes. "Douglas, be a dear and check your evidence folder." The files were gone. In their place, a single video. Isabella. Last night. Injecting herself with more than adrenaline. "Heroin's such a messy habit," Eleanor tooted as the board members gasped. "But Clara's clinic provides excellent supplements." Isabella froze beside me, the empty insulin vial slipping from her fingers. "It's not." "Not what?" Eleanor zoomed in on the security feed from our garage. Isabella swapping Clara's insulin for vials from a Ziploc labeled Hydra. "Your wife's been skimming product from Richard's shipments." Quite the entrepreneur. The chat exploded. CFO shipments. Legal VP Hydra? As in the fentanyl cartel. Richard had gone sheet white. "Eleanor, I can explain." "Save it for the DEA." She adjusted her bracelet, the snake's head now aimed at Richard's jugular. "Douglas, if you'd kindly play the clip from 207. The room stilled as my own voice boomed from the speakers. Yesterday's garage argument with Isabella. Burn their empire. Her response: "You're not the only one who bugs things." Eleanor produced a USB from her Chanel clutch, identical to the one I'd stolen from Richard. "Such initiative. Pity the malware you downloaded also granted me remote access to," she clicked. Every device in the company pinged with nude selfies of HR Director Clara. Time-stamped yesterday. Geotagged to Richard's Porsche. The board erupted. Richard lunged for the door. Clara fainted into a potted fern. Isabella gripped my arm hard enough to bruise. "She's using you to purge them." Eleanor met my gaze through the camera, slowly unclasping her bracelet. The snake's underbelly revealed an engraved serial number, TRU8H4X0R. The same code from my bankruptcy files. The same code that funded our marriage. "Checkmate," she mouthed, just as federal agents swarmed Richard's office. My phone buzzed, a wire transfer notification. $2 million from an untraceable account. Memo line, consulting fee. Isabella's nails drew blood. "She bought you." But the real gut punch was the second notification. A closed-circuit feed from Eleanor's stable. Our daughter's college dorm room. Live. Zoomed in on her desk, where a familiar green-strapped watch glinted beneath her calculus textbook. Richard's gift to his favorite intern. Eleanor's final move. The game wasn't over. It had just become legacy. The audio clip should have been my victory lap, Richard's voice growling, pin it all on Doug. Over clinking glasses, Clara's nasal giggle as she suggested framing me with forged invoices. The staff's collective gasp was sweeter than Richard's single malt. Until Eleanor tapped her pen. "But let's hear the full context," she purred, cueing another file. Richard's voice again. "After we bankrupt the simp, Isabella gets her cut." My ribs cracked against the conference table as Clara lunged for the exit. I caught her by the Gucci belt she'd charged to our department budget, her elbow connecting with my spleen. The USB drive clattered to the floor, same leopard print as the one Isabella kept her yoga playlists on. "Suck a tailpipe, Doug," Clara hissed, kneeing me in the groin. The drive's contents loaded as I wheezed. 152 voice memos. All labeled Protect D. Isabella's voice, shaking but clear. "If anything happens to Douglas, release these to the press." Recording after recording, Richard threatening my promotion, Clara admitting she falsified HR complaints, even Eleanor's icy offer to settle my husband's indiscretions over brunch. The timestamp spanned 3 years. The coup de grace? "Love you too, Isabella whispered in last night's final clip. Static swallowed her next words, but the raw ache in her voice mirrored the bruise spreading across my ribs. Eleanor's stiletto clicked toward me. Admirable effort, she said, plucking the USB from my bloodied hand. But did you ever wonder why your wife chose this hotel? She enlarged the video's background, a blurred concierge desk. The logo's font matched the Hydra cartel's branding from DEA bulletins. Isabella's face drained of color on the live security feed from our home. She was standing in the garage, staring at her open laptop, a half-packed suitcase at her feet. Eleanor leaned in, her Chanel No. 5 smothering me. Some debts can't be paid with money. My phone buzzed. A Venmo request from Isabella, $15,000. Memo, for the light. The same phrase from her charity check. The same phrase etched on Clara's rehab intake form. The same phrase tattooed on the Hydra lieutenant's neck in last month's police blotter. As federal agents cuffed Richard, Eleanor pressed the USB into my palm, now warm from her grip. A gift, she murmured. Check the deleted files. The recovered folder contained one video. Isabella, 18 months ago, handing a Hydra enforcer our home address. Her voice steady, cold, utterly foreign. He doesn't know anything. Keep him safe, or I sink your shipment. The timestamp, the night I'd miraculously survived a carjacking. The enforcer's watch, forest green alligator strap. Richard's voice off camera. She's all yours. The screen went black. So did my vision. Isabella's final recording played on loop in my skull. Love you too, as Eleanor's limo peeled away. The USB's metal teeth bit into my palm. Victory tasted like blood and betrayal. And the game? The game was just getting warmed up. The handcuffs clicked like Eleanor's stilettos on marble. Richard's "I'll destroy you" rant ended with a Fed's elbow to his kidney, while Clara sobbed about insulin shortages in federal prison. I should have felt something. Triumph. Relief. Instead, I stared at the coffee stain on the interrogation room table shaped like Hydra's logo. Eleanor materialized beside me, her Chanel briefcase snapping open. VP of Crisis Management, she said, sliding a contract across the sticky surface. Salary triple your current. Plus discretion to handle personal matters. Her bracelet snake head tapped the clause about off-book expenditures. I fake signed with a busted pen. Does the dental plan cover venom extraction? Her laugh was a ice pick to the eardrum. You'll need it. As she stood, a file slipped from her dossier. Next target stamped in familiar font. The X curled like the barbed wire tattoo on Isabella's Hydra contact. Isabella chose that moment to burst in, reeking of hospital antiseptic and deceit. Her rehab medallion, 90 days sober, hung askew, its edges tarnished where Eleanor's initials should have been. You knew, I said. She flinched. The Silver Oak Center. Eleanor funded it. Her sleeve rode up, revealing track marks in the shape of tiny snakes. She chaired my sobriety panel. Said relapse was inevitable unless you played courier. I flicked Eleanor's contract at the next target file, now peeking from her briefcase. The corner visible showed a partial logo, 3 interlocked gears. Our biggest competitor's insignia. Eleanor adjusted her bracelet, the serpent's emerald eyes now glowing with microcameras. Douglas, really? Must we do this? The interrogation mirror reflected our trio, a triptych of fucked. Richard's watch glinted on the Fed's evidence table. Same green strap as the Hydra enforcers. Same shade as the gears on Eleanor's target file. Isabella's hand found mine, trembling. The night I relapsed, she had them send photos. Of you. At work. At the gym. With her. Eleanor's phone buzzed. She dismissed the alert, a real-time feed of Clara's booking photo, and smiled. Trust requires motivation. The next target file shifted again. Beneath it, a photo of our daughter's roommate. Wearing Richard's watch. Isabella's breath hitched. You promised. Promises are bullet points, Eleanor said, snapping her briefcase shut. Douglas understands. Don't you, VP? The contract burned in my back pocket. I'd already memorized the clause granting leverage acquisition privileges. As Eleanor's limo peeled away, Isabella pressed her medallion into my palm. Engraved on back, property of E. Langston. Dated 2014. The year we met. The year Hydra's shipments began. The year Eleanor started grooming her pawns. I pocketed the medallion. Let Isabella cling to my arm. Watched Richard's Porsche get impounded. The game wasn't chess. It was three-card monte with human lives. And the queen held all the aces. The contract's embossed lettering flaked under my thumbnail like dried blood. VP of Crisis Management, I read aloud, pacing Eleanor's obsidian office. Job description: fall guy, scapegoat, human shield? Eleanor didn't glance up from her Mont Blanc pen, its nib scratching across a donor check for our daughter's alma mater. Job security, she corrected. Your choices are simple. Sign, and Megan's trust fund remains. She flourished the check's memo line. Langston Legacy Scholarship, recipient number 142. Untainted. I hurled the contract into her dormant fireplace. Try blackmailing someone who doesn't know you forged those Hydra ledgers. Her chuckle echoed off the taxidermied peacocks. Ledgers. She slid a photo across the desk, Megan laughing with her roommate under a banner that read "Thank you, Langston Foundation." The girl's wrist bore Clara's stolen Rolex. Your daughter's been such a devoted intern at my charity. Pity her scholarship requires continuous enrollment. The threat hung between us, fat and buzzing. I'd seen that banner in Megan's Zoom background for months. Never noticed the foundation's logo, a serpent coiled around a graduation cap. Isabella's rehab medallion burned in my pocket. I'd missed the clues in plain sight. Megan's sudden interest in nonprofit management, the way she defended Eleanor's philanthropy over Thanksgiving turkey, the Hydra-branded USB drive she'd mistaken for a vape pen. Eleanor opened her laptop, revealing a live feed of Megan's dorm. A fedora-clad figure lingered outside her door, same enforcer who'd carjacked me. His sleeve rode up, revealing fresh ink, Megan's self-portrait from 3rd grade. She's being groomed, I whispered. Mentored, Eleanor purred. Much like Isabella was. She tapped the key. The screen split, Megan's dorm cam and security footage from Silver Oaks Rehab. There was Isabella, 8 years younger, accepting a necklace from Eleanor. The pendant? A serpent swallowing its tail. Isabella's voice cracked from the doorway. I tried to tell you. Eleanor rotated the necklace, now glinting around her own throat. Children are such motivators. Ask Clara. The puzzle pieces snapped together. Clara's insulin dependence began after her abortion at 19. Richard's watch collection started when his son got arrested. Every pawn had a pressure point. I reached for the check, my reflection warping in Eleanor's bracelet. Megan stays out of this. Too late. She uncapped a pin filled with ink the color of dried blood. But sign, and I'll ensure her internship remains academic. The contract's revised terms glowed on her tablet. Employees shall assume responsibility for all prior fiscal discrepancies. Attached, a video of me planting the bug in Richard's office. Isabella gripped my wrist. We can run. And trigger Megan's expulsion? I scrawled my signature, the stylus leaving a digital scar. You knew. The whole time. Eleanor's printer hummed, spitting out a notarized copy. Knew what? That love makes you predictable. She dropped the check into a shredder. Megan's scholarship is secure. For now. As we left, Isabella hesitated at the elevator. The pendant. It's a tracker. I pressed the medallion into her palm, property of E. Langston glinting under fluorescent lights. So's this. The doors closed on Eleanor's smile. In the parking garage, I keyed Richard's old Porsche, the one Megan thought I'd won in the lawsuit. The glove box yielded his emergency stash, bourbon, burner phones, and a deed to a storage unit. Isabella stared at the unit number. That's near Megan's campus. The engine roared to life. Eleanor wanted a VP? She'd get a wrecking ball. With matching serpentine treads. The fight started with a Tiffany lamp, Isabella's grandmother's, the one she'd supposedly donated to the church auction. It shattered against our bedroom wall when I asked why Eleanor's charity deposits matched Clara's bail payments. You think I wanted to crawl to that ice witch? Isabella screamed, hurling a high heel through the hole she'd just made. You were still paying off the bankruptcy. Still having night terrors about the repo men. I caught her wrist mid-throw, her pulse rabbiting under the fresh track marks. So you let Eleanor own us instead? Her laughter curdled. Own you? I took her blood money to protect you from the truth. Witches. She froze, mascara rivers converging at her chin. That the bankruptcy wasn't your fault. The confession hung between us, acrid and fragile. I released her, stepping back onto the journal hidden beneath her yoga mat. The leather was warm, warped from moisture or tears. Isabella lunged for it. That's private. We wrestled like meth-head raccoons, tearing pages until a Polaroid fluttered out. Our daughter's 5th birthday party. Me grinning with frosting smeared on my cheek. Isabella's smile not yet fractured by silver oaks. Scrawled on back. Last happy day. The calm before I ruined everything. The journal entries were written in 3 colors, black ink for rage, red for regret, pencil for lies she couldn't commit to permanence. March 12th, told Doug the Hydra thug was random. He believed me. God, let him keep believing. June 5th, Clara showed me the photos of him with Eleanor at the Hilton. Have to make him hate me before he discovers the truth. September 18th, relapsed. Left the needle where he'd find it. Better he thinks I'm a junkie then. The page ended mid-sentence, the paper puckered from dried teardrops. Beneath it lay a keycard from the Hilton, room 873, activated weekly for 13 months. Security logs printed on the back showed Eleanor's check-ins. Alone. Isabella hugged her knees in the debris, voice raw. She threatened to send you to Rikers. Said the bankruptcy files could be reinterpreted as embezzlement. I flipped to a red-inked entry. If I make him leave, Eleanor can't use him anymore. Dated the night I'd found the burner phone. The closet safe beeped as I input our anniversary code. Inside, stacks of cash bound with Eleanor's charity ribbons, a Glock with filed-off serial numbers, and a notarized letter. To whom it may concern, all funds attached were extorted by Eleanor Langston. My husband knew nothing. Isabella Marchetti. Dated yesterday. She'd signed it with a trembling hand, the ink smeared where she'd dripped vodka on the page. You were supposed to find that after she gestured to the Glock. The rage came out as laughter. You thought martyrdom would fix this? I thought something should. She hurled a stack of cash, bills exploding like shrapnel. You're so busy outsmarting them that you can't see they've already won. A $100 bill fluttered onto the journal's open page October 3rd. Dreamed of the Hydra man's tattoo again. 3 gears, not snakes. Why does Eleanor's bracelet? The gears matched the logo in Eleanor's next target file. The same emblem was inked on the enforcer who'd stalked Megan. Isabella's breath hitched as I connected the dots aloud. You realized Eleanor's Hydra ties months ago. Tried to shield me by playing along. She pressed the Polaroid to her chest, our daughter's frosting smudge face peeking through her fingers, and failed spectacularly. The journal's spine crackled as I ripped out a page. This entry, the night you relapsed. You mention Eleanor's driver having a Russian accent. So the Hydra lieutenant's parole officer is Mikhail Volkov. I flashed the mugshot from my phone. Who happens to chauffeur Megan to her internships. Isabella's choked sob sounded almost like hope. The journal was a map, and the monster's lair had a back door. The press camped in our azaleas looked like vultures at a vegan buffet. I counted 17 microphones stamped with Eleanor's charity logo before Isabella hurled her wedding band at my head. They're interviewing the janitors union next, she screamed, yanking the cord from our landline. People are losing pensions because of your fucking hero complex. I adjusted the mic flag Langston Foundation press, same snake emblem on the grip, and smiled for the camera. Let's discuss accountability. The leak had been surgical. Marty's cousin spoofed Eleanor's email to blast her Hydra ties to every Fortune 500 CEO. What I hadn't anticipated. The rival execs synchronized yawn. Turns out Cartel Cash built their golf courses too. Mr. Marchetti, a reporter with Eleanor's serpent bracelet leaned in. Your whistleblowing cratered the company. Any regrets? Isabella's choked sob cut through the static. I locked eyes with the bracelet's emerald eyes, live feed cameras, no doubt. Regrets? I held up the flash drive containing Eleanor's tax fraud proofs. Only that I didn't burn this place sooner. The studio lights dimmed as I dropped my ace, audio of Eleanor bribing senators. But the producer played elevator music over it. Litigation reasons, she shrugged, slipping a Langston Foundation check into her blazer. At home, the fallout glowed on every screen. Employees sobbing over 401k losses. Our daughter's dorm tagged with Daddy's little snitch. Isabella shredding her charity gala's dress, the one she'd worn to launder Clara's blood money. You've become her, she whispered, clutching a broken picture frame. Our reflection in the glass shards showed Eleanor's smirk on my face. The mic in my fist beeped. Rewound. Played. My own voice, edited. Bankruptcy was my masterpiece. Eleanor's parting gift, doctored audio from my bugged office. Already viral. I hurled the mic into the pool. It sank, bubbles forming the Hydra logo. The hollow victory curdled as I spotted the real trophy on my desk, Employee of the Month, awarded by Richard weeks before his arrest. Shattered during the fight, its shards now spelled MON in the dust. Moral of the story? You either die a hero or live to see you're the joke. I booked a press conference for dawn. Let them hear the unedited truth. Let the Hydra grow another head. And when the last camera left, I kept the mixed broken transmitter, tracing its signal straight to Megan's dorm. The game's not over till the snake eats its own fucking tail. The courtroom air reeked of Clara's desperation, cheap drugstore perfume masking the stale sweat of a woman who'd traded kneecaps for a plea deal. On the stand, she unraveled like a spool of razor wire, her testimony slicing through Eleanor's carefully constructed mythos. She called it the Phoenix Protocol, Clara spat, brandishing a charred ledger page salvaged from Richard's ill-fated bonfire party. Bankrupt the company, collect the fidelity insurance, then rebrand under some woke nonprofit. The ledger's margin held Eleanor's handwriting. Burn date, October 15th. Policy hashtag TRU8H4X0 or $87 million payout upon confirmed arson. My bankruptcy case number. The gallery erupted. Reporters scrambled. Eleanor's bracelet glinted as she doodled serpent scales on a legal pad, unfazed. I should have felt vindicated. Instead, I stared at the empty seat beside me, reserved for Isabella, now occupied by a crumpled program from Megan's abandoned piano recital. My phone buzzed with a CNN alert. Whistleblower hero saves pensions. The thumbnail showed me grinning beside Clara's mugshot, but the photo credit told the real story, courtesy of Langston Foundation Media. Isabella's last text burned through my screen. You're live on every channel. Again. Sent 17 hours ago. Read. Unreplied. Clara's voice climbed an octave. Eleanor made me swap the fire suppressants with cooking oil. Said Douglas's bankruptcy trauma would make him the perfect fall guy. She pointed at me, acrylic nail chipped in Hydra green. But he's too stupid to even light a match right. The insult should have stung. Instead, I fixated on the evidence tag around her neck. Hashtag 873. Hilton room number. The same where Isabella's panic attack had once been misdiagnosed as guilt. The gavel silenced the room. Eleanor leaned toward her lawyer, whispering loud enough for the mic to catch. Remind Douglas his daughter's scholarship depends on my continued philanthropy. A marshal handed me a note as cameras flashed. Check your breast pocket. Inside, Isabella's rehab medallion, now engraved with TRU8H4X0 and smudged with lipstick not hers. The verdict came swift. Guilty on all counts. The crowd cheered. I slipped out during the standing ovation, finding Isabella's car idling at the curb. Get in, she said, eyes hidden behind Eleanor's serpentine sunglasses. The radio played my CNN interview. Sacrificed everything for justice, I declared, unaware Isabella had filed divorce papers that morning. She yanked off the sunglasses. Bruises circled her eyes like ink smudges. Megan's scholarship was revoked. Eleanor's philanthropy required her to flunk. The truth detonated. My grand expose hadn't toppled an empire. It had incinerated the last bridge my family could have crossed. Isabella pressed a USB into my palm, the one I'd planted in Eleanor's office months ago. Your legacy, she said, voice flat. It contained a single video. Me, grinning as Richard's Porsche exploded on the news, whispering burn it all. Dated yesterday. Eleanor's final edit. The applause from the courthouse faded as Isabella's taillights dissolved into traffic. Heroes don't get happy endings. They get highlight reels. The divorce papers arrived in a Hydra-branded envelope. Eleanor's idea of poetic justice. I found them impaled on the fridge with the Tiffany shard Isabella had thrown weeks prior. Our daughter's kindergarten macaroni necklace dangling below like a noose. She was folding sweaters when I stormed in, her suitcase swallowing the bed we hadn't shared since the Hilton receipt. Name your price, I said, hurling the house deed at her yoga mat. The cabin, the cars, the fucking Picasso print from the thrift store. Isabella didn't look up, just smoothed a cashmere turtleneck I'd never seen. Too sharp, to her, over the suitcase lining. It's not about money. Bullshit. You're scared I'll win. I kicked the case, sending Clara's stolen Rolex skittering across the floor. Eleanor's in a federal holding cell. Richard's shivving bitcoins in Gen Pop. We're free. You're not free. She yanked open the nightstand, revealing Eleanor's serpent pendant coiled around Megan's discarded retainer. You're just addicted to a new drug. The bathroom light caught something in her case, a Glock case stamped with Hydra's logo. My breath hitched. Planning to shoot me or yourself? Whichever makes better TV. She snapped the suitcase shut, the click final as a coffin seal. Megan's dropping out, moving to Clara's halfway house. She left you this. The envelope contained 2 items, her dorm key and a flash drive labeled Dad's Greatest Hits. I thumbed the USB's teeth, still warm from her laptop. You're letting our daughter rot with criminals, because what? I exposed the truth. Isabella shouldered past me, her perfume, my anniversary gift, now reeking of Eleanor's Chanel. The truth was a noose, Doug. You just made sure we all got necks in it. I caught her wrist at the threshold, her pulse thready beneath fresh track marks. I'll sell everything. We'll disappear. Alaska, Belize, fucking Antarctica. She peeled my fingers off one by one. You'd freeze solid before admitting defeat. Her laugh cracked. At least the penguins would appreciate your silent martyr act. The taillights of her Uber hadn't faded before I cracked the flash drive. Not Megan's college essays. Security footage. Me. In Eleanor's office the night I leaked the files, pocketing a diamond bracelet while ranting about justice. The timestamp. 2 minutes before I'd heroically exposed her. A post-it fluttered out. Apple doesn't fall far, does it? The suitcase still gaped on the bed. Inside, beneath the sweaters, a false bottom. Compartment empty save for a single item. The bullet from the Glock that carjacked me. Engraved. Next time aim higher. The house settled into a silence thicker than Eleanor's bail paperwork. Winning tastes like copper and gunpowder. Losing? Like your own fucking punchline. The barista's Hydra tattoo had been lazily reworked into a lotus flower. Same emerald ink, same knife point shading. I stared at the botched cover-up while my Americano grew cold, wondering if Eleanor's plastic surgeon had done similar touch-ups in whatever offshore dungeon she now called home. Isabella's laugh cut through the cafe chatter first. That throaty, unguarded sound I hadn't heard since before the bankruptcy. She stood in the shelter's adjacent storefront, Rebuilding Lives Thrift Boutique, according to the hand-painted sign, holding a clipboard while Clara tagged prices on Richard's salvaged Armani suits. Clara's hair had grown out, the platinum dye job replaced by mousy roots that made her look almost human. She caught me staring through the window and froze, price gun aimed at my chest like we were back in the boardroom. Isabella followed her gaze. Our nod lasted precisely 1.7 seconds, the same duration as the elevator ride where she'd first agreed to marry me. My phone buzzed with the New York Times alert. Langston Foundation fraud conviction overturned. Insufficient evidence. The thumbnail showed Eleanor smirking outside the courthouse, her serpent bracelet replaced by an ankle monitor shaped like a noose. I deleted the notification. The barista slid a replacement coffee across the counter. On the house. Her lotus tattoo flexed as she nodded toward Isabella. She said, "You take it black." The mug's chip matched the one in our wedding china. I left a $50 bill under the saucer, watermarked with the shelter's logo, which bore an uncanny resemblance to Clara's rehab center's old insignia. The CL&CL shelter could have stood for Clara Louise. Could have stood for Chue Louis Protest. Who benefits? Eleanor's voice slithered through my AirPods as I hit the sidewalk. Douglas, I'll be needing that USB back. The wind carried Isabella's perfume, jasmine, not Chanel, as she propped open the thrift shop door. Our eyes met. She mouthed "don't" before turning away. The USB in question weighed 3 grams in my breast pocket. Its contents? Every Hydra ledger, every falsified insurance claim, every photo of Eleanor's wellness retreats that could put her away until the sun exploded. I dropped it into a homeless vet's coffee cup. "Bless you, brother," he rasped, not recognizing me from the Times profile. "Spend it wisely," I said, knowing Clara would fish it out within the hour. My burner phone rang as I rounded the corner. Megan's new number. I let it go to voicemail. The divorce papers had included a postscript. She's working for Eleanor now. Don't call. The sun glinted off the shelter's new solar panels, funded by an anonymous donor, according to their website. I'd used Richard's offshore account to foot the bill. Let Eleanor try collecting. At the light, I pulled Isabella's final gift from my wallet, the bullet she'd left in the suitcase. The engraving caught the sunlight. Next time, aim higher. I palmed it into a sewer grate. The coffee burned going down, bitter as the truth. But the receipt? The receipt I set on fire with Clara's old Zippo, watching Eleanor's overturned conviction turn to ash in the gutter. The smile felt foreign. It stayed anyway. The wire transfer confirmation arrived on what would have been our 13th anniversary. Richard's offshore accounts bled dry through a labyrinth of crypto wallets and shell companies named after Isabella's dead roses, Black Bacra Holdings, Crimson Sky Trust. Let the feds trace that. Her shelter's donation receipt came in signed, but the memo line cut deeper than any signature, for the light. Our old code phrase from blackout nights when the repo men circled. Now it funded Clara's redemption tour, her meth mouth swapped for motivational speaker veneer. The note arrived in a Hydra-branded envelope to Shay, Eleanor, but Isabella's handwriting bled through the cheap paper. I know it's you. Thank you. I simple. Clean. A scalpel to the femoral artery. I set it ablaze with Richard's monogram Zippo, the flame catching on the PS sheet hidden in UV ink. Megan knows. The smoke coiled into the shape of Clara's new nonprofit logo, a phoenix rising from 3 interlocked gears. Eleanor's calling card. The whiskey glass was hers originally. A wedding gift from Silver Oaks, though we didn't know it then. Crystal cut in serpentine patterns that warped my reflection into funhouse grotesquerie. I drank until the amber liquid turned my face into the monster she'd needed me to become. Outside, the shelter's neon sign flickered, rebuilding lives, its beat dimmed to leave reliving. Appropriate. We were all ghosts here, repurposing rot into ritual. My burner bust. Unknown number. The light was mine first. B. Attached, a real-time feed of Isabella unlocking a safe deposit box. Inside, stacks of 100-marked CL holdings and a Glock with my fingerprints filed off. I drained the glass, watching the shelter's lights blink out one by one. Clara's silhouette paused in an upstairs window, phone glowing as she forwarded my offshore transfers to an account in Belize. The flames consumed Isabella's note last, the thank curling into Han, then in, leaving only ash and the aftertaste of single malt. Forgiveness is a fire that burns everything but the dead. I poured another drink. The glass, at least, didn't lie.